Hey, what's going on, craft beer professionals? My name is Chris Klein with Cascade Floors Inc., and we are proud members and sponsors of the CBP. Some of you know me, but for those who don't, I look forward to meeting you someday. If you run a brewery or a food production facility, you know your floors take a serious beating every single day. Well, that's where we come in. Cascade Floors has been in business for over 55 years. We bring over 200 years of combined experience to your job site every day. We never outsource labor. Our crews are full-time trained professionals. We have over 4.5 million square feet installed at over 480 breweries in 34 states and 3 countries. Those floors take a serious beating every day. Our floors are designed to handle tough conditions and withstand chemicals and hot water washdowns and serious heavy equipment use. Our floors are 100% non-prorated 5-year warranty against debonding. If you're planning a new building, expanding, or just tired of patching those crappy floors, hit me up. We'd love to work with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Getch, and I'm the Vice President and one of the new partners here at Alpha Beverage Operations in beautiful Lincoln, Nebraska. I've spent the last 2 decades working in customer experience, operations, and helping organizations bring structure and process to fast-moving and somehow usually chaotic environments. And while I'm not a brewer, I have spent a lot of time working beside breweries, and I have seen firsthand how things can go from calm to chaotic. Before we get into this session's topic, I wanted to give a quick little business update because I'm sure some of you are wondering. At the end of 2025, Lotus Beverage Alliance, which owned Alpha Brewing Operations, Twin Monkeys, Stout Tanks, Brewmation, and GW Kent the last few years under a private equity firm, ceased operations and went into foreclosure. I'm sure some of you have seen it on Reddit, maybe on social media. The good news is that the original owners of Alpha Brewing Operations bought the assets and the intellectual property back of Alpha and acquired those for Twin Monkeys and Brewmation. This acquisition of assets has allowed the brands to continue to move forward as Alpha Beverage Operations. We're very creative in our names. We are currently small but determined team focused on restoring those brands and dedicated to helping breweries be successful now and into the future. Be on the lookout for more from us in the coming months. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about balls. All right. The idea behind the ball theory is actually super simple. Some of you may have heard about it. This is not my thought. This is a thing by Nora Roberts. It is basically a work-life balance analogy, suggesting that we're all juggling both glass and plastic balls in life. Glass balls represent critical, irreplaceable, or fragile commitments. Your health, your family, and your integrity that shatter if dropped. While plastic balls are resilient tasks, household chores, emails, even my 30-minute skincare routine that can bounce back when neglected. If you think about your personal life, I'm sure you can easily identify the both types of balls, right? Neglect that high blood pressure and neglect it getting checked out and under control, and bad things can happen, right? But you punt that dinner with a friend until next week when your schedule is less chaotic, not that big of a deal, not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. So if you think about your life, I'm sure you can sit here and think your health, your family, like what those glass balls look like, but then also things that you can punt till next week, emails that you need to answer, a bill that needs paid, whatever. So if we look at the ball theory through the lens of brewery leadership, I'm sure you can all relate to the feeling like you're always juggling or always trying to keep the plate spinning in the air and that everything is urgent, everything is a priority. You're probably thinking about tanks, taplists, payroll, a stuck mash, 3 super quick questions, an email that somebody needs something right now. No matter what your role in the brewery is, things move fast and everything can feel urgent. Then you start treating everything like it's made of glass. And when everything is a glass ball and you're constantly juggling them in the air, that's when you're creating this unsustainable burnout and the balls start dropping. So if you drop a glass ball, what happens? It shatters. You compromise safety. You put out bad beer. You burn out your team and you lose good employees. Those things don't bounce back quickly. They break, and they're very expensive and time-consuming to fix. Now compare that to dropping a rubber ball. an email that doesn't get answered right away, a non-critical task that gets pushed to tomorrow, or something doesn't get done exactly how someone would prefer that it gets done. It will bounce. It might be annoying, but it won't break the business. The challenge isn't about learning to juggle more balls. It's more about knowing the difference and understanding that not everything that feels urgent is actually urgent and fragile. But here's where it gets more complicated. What's glass for one person in the brewery may be rubber for somebody else. Everyone in a brewery is juggling balls, but not everyone is juggling the same ones. And what feels like a glass ball to you might feel like a rubber ball to somebody else. That's where a lot of frustration can come in. It's not that people don't care, it's that they're protecting different things. So let's look at this through 3 viewpoints: a brewery owner, the taproom manager, and the head brewer. Let's start with the owner. It is their job to protect the business. They're thinking about cash flow, growth, distribution, brand. They're looking at the long-term health and survival of the company. So for them, those things are glass. If those drop, the business is at risk. Now on the flip side, there are things that might feel really urgent in the moment, but are actually really rubber for them. Which tank gets used today? This small process change that we want to do, the exact timing of a batch, all important, but they're not business breaking. So sometimes they're pushing urgency, not because they're trying to create the chaos, but because they're trying to protect something that they see as glass. So let's compare this to the taproom manager. Their job is to protect the customer experience. They're focused on making sure guests are having a great experience, the right beer is available, staff feels supported, and the tap room is running smoothly. So for them, their glass balls are things like customer experience, staffing, events, daily revenue. If those drop, you feel it immediately. Customers notice, staff gets overwhelmed, and revenue can take a hit. Now on the flip side, there are things that might feel urgent to someone else, but are actually rubber for the tap room. Tank scheduling, production timelines, that presentation that needs to happen to the bank. Important, but not what they're being measured on in the moment. They're not ignoring those things. It's just they're protecting a different set of glass balls. Let's look at the head brewer. This is probably the category that most of you fit in. And it's also very possible that you guys wear multiple hats, which kind of complicates things even more, right? Sometimes the owner is the head brewer. So you have even more glass balls in the air. As the head brewer, your job is to protect the beer and the process. You're responsible for quality, equipment, schedule, safety, your team. So for you, those are your glass balls. If they drop, you're dealing with bad product, downtime, safety risks, or a burned out team. On the flip side, there are things that feel urgent coming from other parts of the business, but are actually rubber for you. Last minute taproom requests, distributor pressure, that Instagram reel that has to be made today, new forks for the tap room, all important, all have their place, but not at the expense of beer or your team. Because if your glass balls drop, nothing else really matters. You can recover from a late email, but it's really hard to recover from bad beer or a burned out team. So when you feel pulled in multiple directions, it's not because you're doing it wrong. It's that you're trying to protect your glass, while everyone else is also trying to protect theirs. When you step back and look at all of this, the owner is protecting the business, the tap room is protecting the customer, and the brewer is protecting the beer. So everybody has a part in it, and all of it is important. But in terms of keeping the juggling balls in the air, everybody is different. The point is nobody is wrong. You're just protecting different glass balls. And it's not that people don't care. It's that they care about different things. Your role, your responsibility, and what you're accountable to all shape what feels glass to you. So the question becomes, how do you actually decide what's glass and what's rubber? when everything feels urgent, and it will, and I'm sure it does right now, there's a simple way to figure out what's actually glass. At the end of the day, these are the only thing that matters. First, will somebody get hurt? That's got to be your number one. Is somebody going to get hurt one way or another? Second, will my beer suffer, or will my product suffer? Like, you can look at this through not just breweries, your life, if you have food, any of that stuff. Will the product suffer in some way? And third, will my team suffer? I don't know where my M went on team. Will my team suffer? You need your people, right? Like, you need your people to help make your business a success. And so if the things you are juggling or the decisions you are making are going to affect your team in some way, you need to focus on that. It is so hard and so expensive to replace good people. If the answer is yes to any of these, it's a glass ball. If not, it may still be super important, right? Like, things can be super, super important, but you can let them bounce. And so if it's not a yes to those, it's rubber. And maybe you prioritize it to the next day. It's not that you drop it and never pick it up again. It's that you drop it, it bounces, and you can pick it up later. You can pick it up tomorrow or in a week. Maybe it's you need to call into Alpha support to get a new canning line part. While very, very important, it's possible it can wait till tomorrow because you're not actually canning for another week. And so some of these things are super, super important, but are they glass? Is it something you have to keep up in the air, or is it something that you can prioritize later, or is it something that you can delegate? That is another thing, is if you have a big enough team around you, a good enough team around you, there's a lot of things that you are juggling that it's likely that you could actually delegate to somebody else. Somebody else can call support to figure out what's wrong with their canning machine. Somebody else can reply to that email to the distributor saying when product is going to be on the shelves. It doesn't always have to be you, even if it's important. Not everything deserves your immediate energy. And sometimes the hardest part of all this is letting something bounce, because it doesn't always feel great. But at the end of the day, you're avoiding that burnout. And your job as a leader, whether you're the owner, a taproom manager, the head brewer, or even just as a coworker, is your job to not have to catch every ball. Your job is to know which ones matter most. To protect the rubber, or to protect the glass, delegate the rubber, and to help your team understand the difference. Because, like I said, to you, things are important. To somebody else, a different set of things are important. It's really great to understand the difference and why those things are important to them, but also you have to protect your glass. And so, yes, I do want to help you pick out new forks for the tap room. And yes, I do want to help you make that super funny Instagram reel that's absolutely going to go viral and get us so much business. But I have to do the glass first, or I have to make sure the glass is staying in the air before I can focus on these other things. Because if everything is glass, that is when burnout happens. So if you remember nothing else from today, it is to protect the glass. Protect the glass. You know, I've been to more conferences and trade shows than I can count in my career. And the thing with events like this is you got to find the nuggets, right? You got to find the nuggets in the presentations that you're watching and the conversations you're listening to, the panels and everything else. You got to find one little nugget in something. And if I could pick one for you, this is the thing, is protect the glass, the safety, the quality, the people. That is what you're protecting. And that's how you're prioritizing what's important to you based on the persona that you are. If you are an owner and a brewer, you may have a few more balls in the air and you are juggling a lot, but it is important that at least every day, if not multiple times a day, you are looking at those priorities. You are figuring out what is still glass and what is not. And the kind of interesting thing that I just learned with this presentation is things can turn from rubber to glass really fast. I've known about this presentation for weeks. Did I wait till this weekend to put it together? Yes, I did, because all of a sudden something that has been rubber for the last few weeks suddenly turned to glass. And so that is another thing to keep in mind when you're prioritizing is Just because it's rubber right now doesn't mean that if you don't drop it enough times that eventually it's going to turn into glass. That's why you still got to pick up the bouncing balls. You can't just let them roll into the storm drain. So keep that in mind also. But in general, the emails, the quick questions, the Instagram reel, a lot of that stuff can bounce. And pick it back up tomorrow, the next day, or you're going to delegate it to somebody else. Let the rest bounce. Not everything deserves your stress. Not everything deserves your time. And not everything deserves your energy. Great beer requires great systems. Great teams require great leadership. And great leadership requires knowing which balls can bounce. This is a very beautiful photo of a tap room at Eatontown Brewing Company. If you're ever in Maryland, you should go check them out. Brand new, beautiful facility. Also an Alpha customer. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, and especially a huge thank you to Andrew and the whole team at Craft Beer Professionals. You can find me and the whole Alpha Beverage Operation team at CBC in Philly in April, and then I will be at CBD Connects in Chicago in June, and I would love to see you all. All right, no questions, then we'll say goodbye and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this session, we'd love to see you in real life. We host in-person workshops across the country for craft beer professionals just like you that are held in some of the most exciting beer destinations around. These immersive events are designed to help you grow and connect with others. You'll meet peers from across the country and leave with actionable strategies for success. Connection has never been more important, and you can learn more at cbpconnects.com. Cheers. See you there.